Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
Here's Robin.
I'm milling about with Anthony Baxter, director of the film You've Been Trumped. What a film.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, my goodness. I love Scotland. I've been to Aberdeen. I've been to the countryside. I've been to the seaside. And this is such a powerful film in that you got all the residents up in arms.
Well, that's right. I mean, in many respects, they're very restrained in some ways, you could say. They're very dignified. They're people who just care very passionately about their environment and this very special stretch of land where Donald Trump announced he was going to be developing a golf course resort. And the land is incredibly important to talk about here because it is a moving sand dune system which is very, very rare in Europe. There's only one left in Britain. The dune that the golf course has been built upon, which meant moving biblical amounts of sand around the site and building up huge mounds of sand everywhere, all that has been plonked onto this very wild, scientifically important moving sand dune system. And the point of those dunes is that scientists use them as a way of studying the impact of global warming. So that has been destroyed. That has completely gone forever. And the scientific interest that the site has gone. And it was supposed to be protected as a site of special scientific interest, and so that means you can't build on it. But the Scottish government was wooed by Donald Trump's promise of bringing all these jobs and developing a golf course resort, and so it said, yes, we understand there's going to be an environmental impact, but the economic benefits outweigh those environmental concerns. And the local people who didn't want this golf course resort, who I follow in the film, as you say, I mean, they are people who just care very passionately about this environment, and they don't want to see it destroyed.
Yeah, and it's amazing what quote-unquote little people can accomplish when they're faced with this. Donald Trump is such a media mogul, such a tycoon, and no one seems to have been intimidated by him.
That's right. I mean, they just accept that they've got to fight for what they believe is important, and whether it was Donald Trump or some other super rich tycoon coming over and saying this is what I'm going to do, and branding their homes slums and saying I don't want to see your houses, I'm going to build around your houses huge banks of earth so that my golfers don't see your homes. And despite all of that, they have been so incredibly dignified, I think. They're just people who are an inspiration to people who see the film because they inspire, I think, that dedication to their environment. I mean, these are people who have been branded by the Trump Organization a national embarrassment to Scotland, but they're incredible people. I think they're the sort of advertisement of Scotland that we're incredibly proud of. I certainly am, having followed them and made the film with them.
Yes, and what I believe you were talking about is catching Trump candidly talking about Resident Michael Forbes, saying his property was like a slum and it was disgusting. I was like, oh my gosh, if he said things like that in America, he would be in jail right now.
Well, ironically, of course, I was put in jail whilst making the film. Yeah, I mean, I think...
Wait. Tell me that story.
Well, I was arrested and put in prison whilst making the film because we had discovered that some of the residents who were objecting to Donald Trump's golf course resort had their water supply cut off by Mr. Trump's workforce. And one of them, Michael Forbes, who you mentioned, Mr. Trump had branded his home as slum and said that Michael lived like a pig. And his mother, who's 86 years old, actually she's now 88, made the film, she's just celebrated her 88th birthday. Both of those people had their water supply cut off, and also to a family just down the road from them. And so we were investigating that. We went to interview one of Mr. Trump's workers, and he seemingly didn't like the questions we were asking him because a short time later, when we went to film one of the other local residents houses, Susan Monroe, the police came down and arrested me and my colleague in what the National Union of Journalists describes as an unprecedented incident of press freedom in the UK. We were simply asking questions and trying to hold people in power to account, but then we're put in jail, we have our DNA taken, we have our equipment, our cameras seized by the police and impounded for nearly a week, and we're unable then to continue making the film, and this comes after the local people have been complaining to us. They feel that the local police are acting like one of Mr. Trump's security forces. They're effectively doing one law for Mr. Trump and another law for the ordinary people is how they felt.
So what was the outcome, Anthony, did you spend the evening in jail? Did you spend some time? What happened?
Yeah, we spent the afternoon and the evening, and then we were charged with a criminal offence, which is breach of the peace. There's this bizarre offence in Scotland that you can go to jail for. It's essentially a catch-all offence that often the police charge people with when they don't quite know what to charge them with. And so the police eventually issued an apology, although it was somewhat half-baked, and they carried out what the National Union of Journalists described as a whitewash cover-up inquiry led by an internal officer. So it was an extraordinary set of circumstances and quite unprecedented, and one that made me even more determined, really, to tell the story of the local people who gave me their trust to try and get to the truth of what was happening there.
Absolutely. So now that you are sort of letting their voices be heard, what is the outcome today?
Well, the first golf course opened earlier this month. Trump had originally promised $1 billion investment. He said, I'll bring 6,000 jobs, I'll be building 1,500 houses, I'll be opening 2 championship golf courses and a skyscraper hotel, building a hostel for workers, because he was recognized that jobs would be very low paid and none of the local people would want them anyway. And none of that has been built apart from the golf course and the temporary clubhouse. And the local people now were telling me just the other day, on the day of the golf course opening, as I spent the day with them, because I was refused a press pass by Mr. Trump to cover the event of the opening.
Oh, I wonder why that was.
People were saying, it won't be long before Donald Trump puts this on the market. This is just going to be sold. And the tragedy then is that we have this incredibly important stretch of land, this wild, open space has been destroyed, and for what? None of the economic benefits have been realized. And I think that's the problem that we see mirrored all over the world, where this kind of thing happens, where the super rich come in, they're able to get loans from the banks, they're able to have the authorities back them all the way, whereas you and I know if we wanted to build a shack on a protected stretch of land, we wouldn't be allowed to, and it just seems there's one rule for these tycoons and another rule for ordinary people.
Yes, and it's not like Scotland needs another golf course, so I imagine that this was really for American golfers to come visit and for tourism and all that.
I mean, as you know, I'm sure Scotland is the birthplace of golf. It was St Andrews that has the very first golf course, and in the town where I live, Montrose, which is just down the road from Mr. Trump's course, it's a 450-year-old golf course. And the country is stuffed full of golf courses. There are hundreds of them, and they're very historic, and that's why a lot of people would come from the United States to play the golf courses in Scotland, because they want to get back to the grassroots of the game. It's where the game was invented. These courses are extraordinary. They were molded into the landscape. Let's remember, when these golf courses were set up, they weren't really built. They were just a few people popping some holes in the grass and cutting the grass down. It wasn't the case of bringing in fleets of bulldozers in a kind of Manhattan-style construction project, which is Mr. Trump's answer to building a golf course. These were very much sensitive golf courses. They reflect the landscape, and they're very much part of the community. They're not a gated community, which is an exclusive place for wealthy Americans and wealthy Scots to come and play. These are the majority of golf courses in Scotland are open to all, and they're inexpensive to say as well. But the buildings haven't been put up yet. I mean, there's a temporary clubhouse, that's all he's built. But he has also built around his neighbours' homes, who he doesn't like, these big mounds of earth to block off their houses and to stop them from seeing out of their homes.
Well, will the project move forward? Will he do the ultimate hotel and resort and all those and the homes that he says he will build? Is that going forward?
Well, I doubt it very much, to be quite honest with you. Mr. Trump has said now that he is not going to build the hotel if a plan for a wind farm goes ahead off the coast. And this offshore wind farm is something that the Scottish government is keen to develop. It's got a big program of renewable energy. Now, we know because Mr. Trump has told the BBC that he doesn't believe in man-made climate change. He doesn't support any of these projects, but one thing he does say is that the offshore wind farm will spoil the view for his golfers. He's saying he won't build a hotel if that goes ahead. And earlier in the whole process here, he had said that he wasn't going to build the hotel because of his neighbours' homes being slums. He said that unless they were tidied up, he wouldn't build the hotel. Next, he blamed the worldwide economic slowdown for not building the hotel, and now he's saying he's not going to build it if the wind farm goes ahead. And the local people think that he's just going to sell it. And the problem there is that if he does that, what he will do is make millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, because he now has planning permission to build all these houses. So what he'll do is he'll sell that on. Another developer can come in and build hundreds of houses on what was a protected site.
Yeah, I think that there's a You've Been Trumped 2 in the works.
Well, I think that a lot of people have said to us around the world that this is our story as well. We have this same kind of thing happening, whether it's in Croatia, where we did a screening in Dubrovnik, where there's a golf course being developed on a very sensitive stretch of land for the town. It's where dozens of people were killed in the Bosnian War. And a tycoon wants to come in and develop that. And the local people, when they saw the film, You've Been Trumped in Dubrovnik, they said, that's our story as well. We've got the same thing happening here. And we've had letters and emails from people in Michigan, all over the United States, in Miami also, where people have said, we've got the same thing happening. And I think that's a real problem in our society today, and there is definitely another story to tell there of people feeling that money and power is riding roughshod over their lives, and there's ordinary people who are suffering at the hands of the very wealthy and super rich, who come in and have their way and are able to change these landscapes and these very, very precious environments that our planet simply cannot afford to lose.
Have you, I'm wondering, have you reached out to any local celebrities such as Sir Sean Connery, who I know is, a very big golfer, and I think he might be, interested in hearing about this?
Yeah, indeed we have. In fact, Donald Trump famously said that he wanted Sean Connery to open his golf course, but Mr. Connery didn't come for the opening. We had actually sent him a copy of the film, and I don't know whether he has seen it yet, but I think it's important that he does see it. He is really the most famous living Scot, and I think it'd be important for him to see what's been happening. So Donald Trump was saying we've had incredible support from Sir Sean Connery. As far as I know, because I know one of his very close friends, he is not offered that support, and we hope that he will see the film and be able to make up his own mind about what's been going on the site.
Well, Anthony, it certainly is a film that I think everyone should see. Congratulations on this. I think it's great that you expose the real Trump, greedy warts and all.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, Robin. Cheers.
Always new.
Always refreshing.
Always candid.
Always milling about.
Robin Milling delivers what celebrities are saying to you.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.
in some ways, you could say. They're very dignified. They're people who just care very passionately about their environment and this very special stretch of land where Donald Trump announced he was going to be developing a golf course resort. And the land is incredibly important to talk about here because it is a moving sand dune system which is very, very rare in Europe. There's only one left in Britain. The dunes that the golf course has been built upon, which meant moving biblical amounts of sand around the site and building up huge...
With this, Donald Trump is such a media mogul, such a tycoon, and no one seems to have been intimidated by him.
That's right. I mean, they just accept that they've got to fight for what they believe is important, and whether it was Donald Trump or some other super rich tycoon coming over and saying this is what I'm going to do, and branding their homes slums and saying I don't want to see your houses, I'm going to build around your houses huge banks of earth, mounds of sand everywhere. All that has been plonked onto this very wild, scientifically important moving sand dune system. And the point of those dunes is that scientists use them as a way of studying the impact of global warming. So that has been destroyed. That has completely gone forever. And the scientific interest that the site has gone. And it was supposed to be protected as a site of special scientific interest. And so that means you can't build on it. But the Scottish government was wooed by Donald Trump's promise of bringing all these jobs and developing a golf course resort. And so it said, yes, we understand there's going to be an environmental impact, but the economic benefits outweigh those environmental concerns. And the local people who didn't want this golf course resort, who I follow in the film, as you say, I mean, they are people who just care very passionately about this environment, and they don't want to see it destroyed.
Yeah, and it's amazing what quote-unquote little people can accomplish when they're faced with...
Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
Here's Robin.
I'm milling about with Anthony Baxter, director of the film You've Been Trumped. What a film.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, my goodness. I love Scotland. I've been to Aberdeen. I've been to the countryside. I've been to the seaside. And this is such a powerful film in that you got all the residents up in arms.
Well, that's right. I mean, in many respects, they're very restrained.